Welcome everyone to Building Materials Marketing Unboxed. My name is Will Smith. I am your host, and this show is brought to you by, as always, Manobite. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 5. The title of today's episode is What Manufacturers Can Do to Sell More Building Materials to Design-Build Remodelers. And we have Geoff Saturley with us today. He is the pre-construction manager at Bellweather Construction. Bellweather Design-Build is a residential home remodeling company and a general contractor based in the Philadelphia area. They specialize in high-quality design and build projects. They handle major renovations, home additions, kitchen remodels, bathroom remodels, basement finishing, and specialty projects, of course. So we're looking forward to talking to Geoff today, and I was just talking to him before the show. Great guy. Really looking forward to today's show. So those of you that are joining us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or LinkedIn Live, we thank you for joining us today. And if you have any questions for Geoff or for me during the show, we'll do our best to get to those questions. So please ask those questions, or if you have statements or anything, you like what Geoff has to say, give us a thumbs up, let us know, comment, interact with us, and if nothing else, let us know where you're tuning in from. So we like to get a good geographical idea of where our audience is coming in from. So thank you for those of you that are joining us live here, and let's learn a little bit more about Geoff, and then we'll bring him onto the show. So Geoff, growing up, he wanted to be a farmer. And frankly, that's going to be my first question. I'm sure there are some things that, between growing and building, and, there's got to be some connection there. He enjoys watching and playing sports, likes to spend time outdoors. He enjoys volunteering. And he, as I mentioned before, he's the pre-construction manager at Bellweather Construction. So please welcome to the show, Geoff Saturley. Welcome, Geoff. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
Anything you want to add about Bellweather? I know I kind of gave a little bit of an introduction, but how was that description? Was that okay?
That was great. Better than I could probably do. So.
All right. Full disclosure, I took it right off the website. So It was very, very succinct, nice website there. So I was able to just take it from there and move from there. Tell me about, I promised the audience I would ask this. Tell me about going from farmer to builder.
Yeah, glad you asked. So ever since I was in kindergarten, my parents and and sister and brother had a hobby farm. So grew up with that. My aunt had a dairy farm about half an hour from us. And so I always had a love for farming. And my dad had worked for some farmers in the past before I was born. And so as I grew up through middle school, that had been a passion of mine. Plan was I was going to go work for my aunt. And then, I don't know, it was about sixth grade, she decided to move her farm from New Hampshire to Vermont. So instead of being half an hour away, she was now about 2 hours away. And then, unfortunately, probably as I was in high school, she decided to sell and get out altogether. And so my dad at the time, as I was entering high school and kind of starting to enter that working stage, he was working at a lumber yard. And my grandfather had been a president of another lumber yard. So it was still in the family blood, being in the construction world and working in lumber. So I started as a stock boy, and slowly moved my way up and got my CDL and was doing deliveries and all that. And so I always had a knack for being able to build, really, especially just without even plans, just mentally being able to put stuff together. So actually it was interesting going into my senior year of high school, my guidance counselor and all of them were pushing me towards computers, as that was a big thing coming out. And I was like, no, I want to go into construction. They allowed me to, take some time, about 3 hours a day in the wood shop, and so really developed my fine craftsman skills there, and then went off to a community college, local community college that had building construction as a degree, and so that's where it kind of grew. So still love to, like I said, the outdoors, farming. If I had the opportunity in the land where I live, I would pick it back up. But so still have that desire. But yeah, that's kind of how it rolled, from farming into construction.
I think that's great. Wow, what a great story. We didn't even and full disclosure to the audience here, we didn't even talk about this before the show. So I just said, hey, this is probably going to be my first question. That's fantastic. I think the underlying theme here is really family between your aunt and also your father. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, and then again between my grandfather and my father, and
Right.
even some of my uncles they weren't as involved in the lumber yard, but had worked there in the past. And actually, my brother's a superintendent for a commercial company, a construction company in the New England area. So him and I are very similar. He's commercial, I'm residential.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, I would say family is a big underlying theme of what tied this all together.
Wow, that's fantastic. What a great story. I like that. And I hope one day you do get your hobby farm or the few acres for yourself that you can definitely not only build but also do the farming as well and bring those two loves together, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, I look forward to it. My wife always jokes around that I have a John Deere tractor that's probably too big for for the space I have, and all the neighbors look at me, and I'm like, yeah, it's just my toy. I love to go out and
It's just,
play
yeah.
around with it.
That's great.
So,
Love it. So now, how did you get started with Bellweather?
so I just recently moved from Michigan to the Philadelphia area, and so
Okay.
in my transition, I was looking for companies to be a project manager at, and so they were one of the ones that I was interviewing with, and they offered me the job. I think for me, it was a challenge,
Hmm.
in a way of moving to like a design build in a city setting. In Michigan, I was more involved in the outskirts, the urban areas of doing construction. So it's offered its new challenges of learning the old historic homes, how they're built, the different types of construction that happens. So yeah, just that's how I got connected with them, is moving to a new location. So,
Very good. Well, let me ask you this. Would you say that your work on historic homes and homes in the main line of Philadelphia, does that impact your choice in building materials in any way?
it does. As I get to understand the historic homes in Philadelphia, most of them are row homes, and so you're dealing with a lot of like flat roofs, brick
Okay.
facades. Um, so just unique building construction there. Whereas you get out into the main line, you may be into more shingled roofs, vinyl siding, hardy plank, things like that. I'd say interior wise, we can use some of the same products, but a lot of it, goes with the style of the house too. So you don't have, you have different style houses that you're going to potentially use different style materials on. I think the other aspect about working in Philadelphia is the historic homes. We
Hmm.
have many areas where we have to use we have to get historical commission approval to do certain things, and then like windows are a big thing, and there's certain manufacturers that make newer construction windows, but that have the historical look. So you just can't use like a vinyl window in certain areas in Philadelphia. You have to use wood window, aluminum clad. It's got to have that look, that old look to it. So that's challenging to do that, um, and being able to keep the look of the home, but also be efficient, like energy efficient with windows.
That's a really good example. So I guess would you say that trying to get that balance of both preservation as well as that modern efficiency, as well as keeping things historical, is that kind of all within the context of historical guidelines and expectations? I guess striking that balance, is that the real challenge here?
It is, especially for our designers to be able to work with those different products, to know the products, to then get approval from the historical commission, to then have the client agree to the look. You have limited choices to choose from. So yeah, it's very challenging. And then once you have all those chosen, then you get into the actual construction, and then just how everything ties together and works. And so it's got its challenges all around.
Do you often find within that challenge, do you often find that there's a change in what products are used in the final construction compared to the original design?
We change periodically. So, prime example of the project I'm overseeing right now, post demo, when we removed some of the tile flooring, we found out that there was part of the floor was a concrete slab instead of a wood frame. And so the final floor that we had chosen did not work on a concrete slab. And so we had to go back to the drawing board, and we went back to our flooring supplier, and there was very few choices that they had. And we also had existing floor that we were trying to not necessarily match, but work with in the new selection. And so it's been a challenge. I bet you it was a 2 to 3 week process of like digging around, trying to figure out products, again, bringing the homeowner in, and then you got the cost of, the new selection. So it can, that's a big one post demo of just items that have been selected, products that have been selected for design may not work once we get into the project and find some of the circumstances that we're working with.
So, speaking of different circumstances, let's talk about the customer. Let's talk about the client for a second here. Do clients ever influence or get to dictate your team's choice in materials or finishing product? And to what degree are they allowed to influence / dictate?
Yeah, so in the design build that we run, it's, we have the client come in to our design and development team, and usually our designers right up front ask them for if they have any Pinterest or house boards that they've started to put ideas together we have them fill out a couple lifestyle surveys for us to get a better feel for, what they're looking at. Are they looking at high-end appliances, mid-range appliances? And so as a team, we work together and take that information. We have some clients that are, know exactly what they want. Hey, we want this style appliance. We want custom cabinets in this color. And so that gives our designers a good step to take off and go running with it. And our designers come up with mood boards. So they pull all the different products together, put them on a board. And so you can kind of see how everything's going to come together. We work together. So our designers present the mood boards. They sometimes try to present 2 or 3 options. And we use builder trends. So the client can go right on there and see the different options and select which one they want. Again, the project that I'm running right now, we weren't able to decide on exterior lighting fixtures prior to getting into construction. Mm-hmm. So we just worked through that. And so I worked with the designer on the locations, and she came up with some mood boards for the client. They picked a mood board. I then went back with the client, walked around the house, and we looked at the selection versus the location. Made some adjustments And then unfortunately, there was one that we couldn't really get. We had the size on online, but we didn't really get the feel for the fixture, and so we ended up having to order two fixtures to really understand which one we wanted. So that's what we try to work with the client as much as we can. So I mean, it's we take their ideas, we implement some of ours. We have a lot of clients like, oh, if this was yours, what would you do? You know, we offer some suggestions, but we allow them to have a lot of input as well. So
Yeah, that's very interesting. I find the mood board very interesting, only because on that, when your designers are presenting these mood boards, I'm sure you guys have specific products that are kind of your go-to products. So how do you specify these particular products, and why do you choose them?
I'd say a lot of them are just past track records, ones that we've used in past projects that we've had good success with. Um, you know, from the field standpoint, like, how well do they install? How well do they hold up? Um, one is the product something that my trades have to be certified in for installation? And the ease of or the knowledge of my trades that they have with the product. Um, so there's quite a bit that goes into that of what we choose. But I mean, our designers have a wealth of knowledge with the product. We use a lot of websites to try to pull different products from. You know, and in some ways it's tough just because there are so many options out there. I mean, you can come up with 15, 20 different options for one type of light fixture. So it does take a lot to narrow that down to getting into some few selections. But I would say a lot is just things that we've used in the past, and just having a good track record. Like, we've adjusted some selections just based on feedback from the field, as to how they go in. Prime example is like a bath fan. There was one bath fan we ordered that had an oval duct. It's more used for like compact situations in the ceiling, but that oval duct is hard when you use a lot of round duct work. So we gave that feedback back to design, and now unless we need that absolute clearance in the ceiling, we use the round duct bath fan just because it's an easier install for us in the field. So a lot of communication back and forth happens. So it's like I said, it's all teamwork.
Yeah, definitely the communication has to happen because the designers may have one thing in mind, but I'm guessing that your installers or yourself might say you haven't been in the structure or you don't know. Let me tell you. Let me educate you a little bit in the nicest way possible. Would you say that's true?
Yes, that's very true. It's great to have humble designers, and we there's stuff they know that I don't know.
Hmm.
There's stuff I know that they don't know, and we work well together. Whether it's on site together, over Zoom, over a phone call. Technology is very helpful nowadays. Where I can be on site, they can be in an office, and we can
Right.
FaceTime, we can Zoom, and we can solve a lot of issues that might come up. But yeah, together, teamwork, communication, is really key.
Absolutely, and of course, that communication, when it's done well, the result is the customer or the client is a happy client. Would you say?
Yes, and that's one thing we strive for is to be the client's trusted advisor. So being able to come up with these solutions, and present them and educate them as to why we're doing it. I mean, they're investing a lot of money in their house, and so we want to make sure that it meets their needs, and that they'll be happy with the final product in the end.
Yeah, because in the end, they've got to live with it, literally live in it.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of questions. We ask people is, we get a lot of people that may buy a house, and we renovate it before they move in or something. But we always ask them, like, what's your long-term plans here? Are you thinking you're gonna be in here 3 to 4 years? Or are you thinking you're gonna be in here 15? It's just, your lifetime home, because it helps us to then know, is this worth the investment for what they're going to do? If they're only going to be in there a couple of years, then you try to do something that they want to see, but long term to them may not be beneficial because they're not going to be there. But if people are planning on being there 15, 20 years, we definitely want to set the house up so that they enjoy it.
I like that advisory concept that you're implementing there, because so much of it is what's your long-term plan, or even if it's a short-term plan, making sure that they know that you can consult in a way that is dependent upon their needs. And I really like the fact that you're able to, even from a financial standpoint, that every job isn't let's blow it out as much as possible so we can make as much as possible. It's more of, I think you probably realize the value of what they're going to say to others, whether it's online or, these are the people, word of mouth, I would think, especially in renovation or even some new construction, is going to be vitally important.
Yeah, word of mouth referrals is huge. I had a client that we were renovating their home last summer and fall, and they had a friend that was doing the same, but their friend was trying to manage it all themselves, and our client kept coming back to us, and they're just like, we thank you for what you're doing. You're very, you communicate constantly with us. We understand where the project's going. You tackle these hurdles that come up, and, you help us through them. And their friend that was trying to do it on their own was just swimming. They couldn't get subs to show up on time, and then subs would show up and do half the work, and then they're trying to get the next guy in. So yeah, being that trusted advisor and helping them through, these bigger remodels is what we strive to do, to build that relationship to then, get referrals.
So tell me your perception as a trusted advisor, and as we spoke about before, the many different products that you choose to specify. What's your perception on, or what's the risk of having to switch products? How do you feel about doing something like that?
Just getting to know a new product and how it's installed is a risk. We can bring it into today's economy, the availability, of these products, the lead time. Unfortunately, that has forced us to change on some products. My current job, I was talking to the lumber yard, getting ready to do a framing order, and the salesman came to me. He's like, "Hey, I ordered this tractor trailer load of this new brand of subfloor." He's like, "But it's $15 cheaper a sheet." He's like, "Do you want to use that?" And so, I did some quick research. I was familiar with some similar products, but I'm like, $15 cheaper a sheet, anytime you can save, it's like, let's go for it. And it turned out to be a great product. I haven't had any complaints with it. So I think that's a big thing right now is availability and what we're running into. So, just also a risk, are my trades need to be certified in it? How well do they like the product? Sometimes our trades have a go-to product, and if we change it on them, it's something new they might have to learn. They always like to grumble when they don't get their way.
Right.
So there's definitely some risks in changing, but there's new products always coming out that are more helpful, more efficient. So just, again, also just education for us to be able to then educate the client. It's more information we have to learn, we have to be knowledgeable about. I think that's a very tough thing in today's market. Like you say, there's so many options. So when a client comes to you and they're like, "Oh, we saw this, on HGTV or on Pinterest or whatever," if it's not our go-to product, we have to do a little bit of research and understand like what that product is and are there pros and cons compared to what we use. So a lot of knowledge to be known.
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems to me that, I mean, good for you that you're doing the research. I would think that most people would say, when a client comes to them and says, "I saw this on HGTV," I'm sure people. Now, I'm sure you don't do this, but I'm sure that there are many people that just kind of roll their eyes, like, "Oh boy, here we go. Now we're going to be going on a wild goose chase to find the television celebrity product that they saw on their favorite show." Um, but going back to the salesperson, good for him for educating you and telling you about this new product so that you're able to save money, because in the long run, it makes you look good because you're really helping the client's budget. Would you say that's true?
Yes, and again, going just we're in strange times. Everyone's dealing with it, but especially in construction, it's the lead times, the shortage of materials. It just prices are continually going up, and in a 4 to 6 month project like I'm on, I mean, we see prices just increasing monthly, and so we're trying to lock in those prices in a way, and that's the worst thing we want to have to do is to continually go back to the homeowner and be like, the price of your project keeps going up.
Mm.
And so any way we can help save some money, keep the project on budget, we're trying to do. So it's a lot of communication with our salespeople of our different products and ways that we might be able to overall save the client some money if need be.
Yeah, it seems very clear to me that communication is paramount for the team at Bellweather. Tell me about what good communication and good customer service means from manufacturers. What does that mean to you?
So for me, it's responding, whether it's emails or phone calls in a timely manner. That's always, we're, mid project, you got stuff torn up, you're trying to get, something resolved. So conversations in a timely manner is huge. Understanding their product. I can't tell you how many times I've called like a customer service or something, or worked with a salesperson and they don't know their product, and so the question or two questions I'm asking, they may not have the answer that I'm looking for. And so then it's like, okay, is there somebody else I can talk to, or do I have to do the search for the information myself? So that goes a long way. I had a situation back when I was in Michigan, before I moved to Philadelphia, where we were doing a lot of cabinet installations, and the manufacturer had implemented a new machine that glued their doors together, and all of a sudden we started getting 2 or 3 doors every kitchen order that were falling apart. And I had a great relationship with the sales rep in the area, and he had a great relationship back with the plant. And so, by the third or fourth kitchen, we're just like, hey, something's going on here. And they came right out and they wanted to see it firsthand, what was happening. And we were able to do their tracking system. We were able to track down they were able to track down like right to the day and the hour of when these doors were being made. And they found out that the machine was malfunctioning. I mean, they then found that out, but that was the reason that we were getting these doors. So service and communication like that is huge. I know not every manufacturer can offer that, but even just being able to place a phone call if we have a damaged product, and get a quick turnaround, just always being there when we have that need. is huge to keep the project going, in a timely manner.
That I really like that they were able to. That's a great story, first of all, but I really like that they were able to nail down to the day and the time that these malfunctioning doors were created. And then I assume the end of the story was they figured out that the machine was malfunctioning and they made a fix. Is that right?
Yep. Yes, they made a fix. They got us new doors to replace the ones that were damaged or falling apart. And it was just one of those things that they were trying out a new machine and had to work through some glitches. And they understood that, but they got everything straightened away. And I think to them that machine was very beneficial. It helped their production rate go up.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just a small glitch that unfortunately, caused some anxious times for me and I'm sure other contractors that were getting these doors that were just falling apart. But they took care of it, and everything started to move smoothly after that.
Would you say that when you started this story, you said that you had a good relationship with the sales rep had a good relationship with the manufacturer. Would you say that in this story, the relationship is what really saved this? Had you not had such a deep relationship or a good relationship with the salesperson, would you have maybe written off this particular manufacturer?
Yes. Funny you bring that up. This manufacturer I honestly would direct some of my clients towards them because we have this relationship we had. And we did a lot with them. And it was great to have that relationship. Even to the point when, the salesperson, when they're giving me the contractor at the time, their cell number, to be like, hey, call us. Another interesting story with that same manufacturer, which is again why they're just one of my forefront people to work with when I was out there, was they had also implemented a change in one of their trim moldings. And all of a sudden we start getting this new trim molding, and I'm like, this just doesn't work. I think it was maybe a 16th of an inch thicker than the old one, maybe an eighth, but it was noticeable for what we used it on. I threw up red flags right away, called the sales rep. I'm like, hey, what's going on? He's like, yeah, we changed to a different vendor for this. I'm like, why didn't you guys ask us? I'm like, this isn't going to work. And, he relayed that information back to the plant and, or the manufacturer. And surprisingly, they switched back to the old trim. It probably took 4 to 6 months to cycle through, but I think, it wasn't just me. I'm sure there was other guys calling and complaining, but it was like, here's a product that we're trying to roll out. It just doesn't work in the field, as it should. And so to them, what seemed like maybe a small change, to the trades was huge. And so they listened, and, it was a crazy 4 to 6 months of having to, custom cut trim on site, but they got it taken care of. And like I said, that relationship of being able to have that phone call, talk to some of the managers down at the plant, they wanted to make sure they took care of their clientele, and they definitely did.
Do most manufacturers have that kind of relationship, or is this just unique?
This one for me was unique because we did so much volume with them. I'm sure there's others out there. I haven't come across any quite to this caliber, that they really supported us. And again, I don't know how they supported others. Again, we were doing quite a bit of volume with them. So I'm sure that tends to play in. You're going to want to cater to your bigger volume customers. But, I've seen, a lot of manufacturers have customer service, departments that you can call. I haven't really necessarily experienced, the on-site visit. And again, they were local. They were probably like a 2-hour drive away. So again, if I'm working currently with somebody out in the Midwest or the West Coast, I'm sure they're not going to come just bebopping over to Philadelphia to check out a problem. But
Right.
um, you know, I think that goes back to another thing I forgot to mention with like product and what we use is try to stay local too. When you have that local manufacturer that might be an hour or two away, even three, sometimes you can get quicker replacement products, if they have them at the warehouse, versus having to get shipped halfway across the country. So, trying to stay local as much as you can with the products that you use is super beneficial.
I think that's a great point, especially with shipping times and shipping. Of course, we're all living in the Amazon age when we can get anything in 3 day shipping, but I'm sure that's definitely for materials. It's a whole different story. So staying local, I think, is really good advice. Does this particular manufacturer, do you get like a you should get some kind of award or something that basically says, hey, these guys watch out for us. Of course, you're doing a high volume, and I'm sure they appreciate that. But even right down to product specifications, this isn't where, to have somebody in the field like that, it's got to be a great benefit for them.
Yeah, I would think so. And I mean, I worked with, cabinets and kitchens, is kind of the background I come from, the finished carpentry. And so, um, there were other manufacturers that I tried as much as I could. I didn't always get to know their sales reps. Sometimes you'd call customer service, but I would joke a lot of times with the designers that I worked with. And I'm just like, if they could tweak the design of this cabinet to suit the contractor, it would be that much more easier to install. And, just trying to find that person to relay that information to is huge. I even come to think of it, as I mentioned that, the manufacturer that I've been talking about, they changed in the last couple of years the design of their cabinet, and I started to cringe when I saw it. And again, they were doing it to save money, but I'm just like, oh, from a installer standpoint, I'm like, this can be more difficult in the field the way you guys are building these cabinets. And you share that feedback, and again, you're not going to necessarily change over their mind. They have many other things they're looking out for too than just the design of the cabinet. But I think it's just trying to, whether it's writing reviews or being able to have that person to give feedback to. And I think having a lot of local sales reps for these manufacturers that are more, global or whatever, to be able to come out and potentially see things on site, for them to then relay back to the plants and whatnot is a big benefit.
Would you say being able to go somewhere, at least have your voice heard, that's at least the first step?
Yeah, and I mean, I know there's lots of opinions out there, but if they can get opinions from the guys that are actually installing it in the field, I think there's a lot of wisdom to that. That they can take that and run with it. Again, like I said, there's things that they can't do, probably, but to be able to have a platform to hear your voice heard, at least for options, and things to change would be huge.
Would you say that that is not the case for most manufacturers?
Yeah, I would say I don't, besides maybe talking to a local sales rep or somebody in customer service. I mean, you can leave your complaint or your thoughts with someone in customer service, but to actually know if it, reaches somebody beyond that, you don't really know, whether it might be a follow-up email or phone call from someone, in their production line, production manager or something. Again, they'd probably get hundreds of thousands of those maybe a day. Everyone's sharing their opinion, but
Right, right.
I think that would go a long way with some, companies like us, design build companies, other, new construction builders, to have that feedback of, yes, your voice is being heard, and, we'll see what we can do about it.
So tell me a recent activity, a little brag moment here for you. What's a recent activity that you have implemented at your company that has brought about some surprising results?
Oh, that's a good question. One I would say in recent is, I'm fairly new to Bellweather, but the warranty, the closeout of the project and the warranty time frame. It's a crucial time for anyone that knows about trying to close out a job, whether it's remodel, new construction. For our clients, a lot of our clients move out of the house because it is such a major renovation. So they're antsy to get back in. They're just looking forward to using this new space that you've created. And so for anyone in construction knows that final 2 to 3 weeks of like punch list and trying to wrap everything up can just be very stressful on all ends. And yet you have a client there that's just pushing you to get in. They're almost like, we don't care about that, but we want to be in. And so, trying to, when we reach that closeout date and we do a final walkthrough with the client, trying to make that more celebratory, of a walkthrough of a time, to reflect on what's been done, enjoying the new space, all the new finishes. And so in years past, during that walkthrough, you have those clients that don't understand like the warranty process and what's covered. And so they're trying to pick out every little detail to make sure it's taken care of before they move in. And so one of those is paint. I mean, things get bumped up, things get nicked as they move in. Somebody might slip and drop a box down the stairs like one of my clients did and punch a hole in the new drywall. And so what we implemented was a paint certificate. And so at that final walkthrough, we give them this certificate that's good for up to 40 days after that time. So it allows them to move into the house, get settled in. And then we come back, we have our painter come back for about 3 hours to do any touch-ups. So, that client that put the box in the wall, he put some spackle on it and then added some fresh paint. So it allows that celebratory walk to be more celebratory, and we're not looking for all these little fine details in the paint. Mainly the paint finishes, is the big one. And so then, allows the client to get in there, maybe mark some stuff that we didn't catch. Or, like I said, if the movers bang stuff up as we're coming in, then, we'll just take care of that. That way, once they're settled in there, it gives them an opportunity to have a fresh space again, to then enjoy. And they're not having to worry about, touching it up themselves and then having 2 different shades of paint on the wall. And then it's just a disaster.
That sounds great. I especially like the fact that you mentioned that we want this to be a celebratory time. I'm sure, especially after a long, arduous build or remodel for you guys, you're ready to be done. However, you still take the time to make sure that the client enjoys it and loves it, because I'm sure that's going to pay off in dividends, and that it's celebratory in nature. And having that 40-day paint certificate, that peace of mind, that's what comes to my mind when you were talking about it. Would you say that's what you found, that customers are much more at peace?
Yes, they're much more relaxed at that walkthrough. We're able to have conversation, joke, talk about the last few months, sometimes the hardships that the roller coaster ride that we went through during construction. We're able to kind of joke about that a little bit. Everything's at ease. versus everyone just uptight. Me as a project manager, uptight. Did I catch every last detail? What are they going to find as soon as I step out of this house? And for them, they're just coming in and, they just get to enjoy their new space and see their kids run around in it. Pull out all the cabinet drawers and see all the different accessories that come with them, and just things like that.
Yeah, it sounds like there's peace of mind both for the customer, but also for you as well. So definitely a double-edged thing of wonderfulness, if that's actually a word, that's good for you and good for the customer as well. So nice. That's a good thing. Let's wrap up the show with a question that I ask everybody. What is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
The best piece of advice, like I said, I like sports. And so a role model that's been part of my life is former men's UCLA basketball coach John Wooden. He's got a couple books out there on leadership. And so one thing that really hit me was success. We all think success is, how people look at us, what we achieve and everything. And he's used the definition to be a peace of mind that is the direct result of self-satisfaction, knowing you did your best to become the best that you are capable of becoming. That's something that I just take to heart, especially, working with these clients in such big projects is just, I see my success as just being satisfied knowing I've given my all to the project. I've done what I can to make the process as easy as I can for them, to help them through the ups and downs along the way, to try to be there when they may be uncertain on decisions, or we uncover something unforeseen right after demo, and now you got to walk them through that hardship. So just having that self-satisfaction, knowing that I've done my best to get them to their final product, and giving them something to enjoy, so it may not be something I've achieved, and get rewarded for, but I think deep down, I feel, that reward of having that successful feeling each and every project.
That is great advice, and I'm sure you have the peace of mind knowing that when you go to sleep at night, you've done the best that you could possibly do. Great advice. Thanks so much, Geoff. I really appreciate you being on the show today, and for those building manufacturers out there that are listening, and to everybody out in our audience, I'm sure they found some really good value in what you were able to provide to us today. So thanks, Geoff. Any final words?
No, just thank you for having me on. I know we've been in touch for quite a while. So thanks to your team for coordinating this. I think it's been beneficial. I wasn't quite sure how it would all tie together when we first started talking, but I think it, as we've talked more and more, just very, very beneficial for us and for manufacturers, and just how we all work together. And I keep just going back, because I've had the conversation even today with a sales rep, just in the economy we're in right now, just trying to deal with the lead times and keep the projects on schedule and change products because they're no longer available. We just all have to work together, and, we keep touching back to that communication. And just, I need to know information, they need to know information, and we just need to communicate so we all work together and achieve our end goal.
Great stuff. A lot of good stuff here, Geoff. And of course, I will be cutting up some of those nuggets of wisdom and sending them off to you to share with your network, because certainly Manobite is going to be sharing with our network some of the great things that you shared with us today in short little social media posts. And of course, we'll have a nice blog post that'll feature some of the things that you had mentioned today. So thanks again for being with us. We really appreciate it.
Okay. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Well, have a good one. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Geoff.
Thanks.
Bye now. I want to thank Geoff for joining us today and giving us a real clear idea as to what manufacturers can do to sell more building materials to design-build remodelers. And there's so many good pieces, as I mentioned before. So if you're watching live, or if you're watching in the future in a replay of some way, shape, or form, or if you're listening on our podcast is available on all the major podcast platforms, wherever you enjoy listening to your podcast. Please pay special attention to some of the wisdom that Geoff provided with us today. And I think it all boils down to communication, really. And that's not just everything that he mentioned, but certainly just one predominant theme that I noticed as we talked with Geoff. So keep that in mind, and of course, rewind, listen again in the replay, and of course, listen to the podcast when it comes out in about a week. And so, manufacturers out there, I hope you were listening and you found this episode valuable because you heard it directly from a leading professional in the field. I also want to thank those of you that joined us today live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and on LinkedIn Live. You've, of course, been watching and listening to Building Materials Marketing Unboxed. We're live every second and fourth Tuesday of the month. And for those of you that are watching a replay or listening to the podcast, we thank you for watching and we thank you for listening. And until next time, whatever life unboxes for you, may it be great.